Hello everybody, I'm Krasi, and in this video I will be addressing a very relevant issue, and it is about melancholy, depression, seen by the as was seen by the ancient astrology. And certainly we will not only look at this astrologically, but I'll also propose you remedies, very relevant, which are also astrological. And the astrological remedies always work because they are very logical, very, if you want, even scientific, talking about the true knowledge. Now, I am speaking now about melancholy. I did speak about 2 years ago in another video, but now this topic is very, very important because of the main reason behind melancholy, which is Saturn. We always have Saturn on the sky, certainly, but now he's very, very, very powerful. And not only now, Saturn entered sidereal Capricorn end of January of 2020 and will stay there until end of January of 2023. This is to say that being in Capricorn in his own kingdom, he's extremely powerful and he gives the most of his influences. Like this is the best chance of him and his ruler, the ancient Babylonian Ninurta, to give the most of his influences. And I have separate video of Saturn, his nature. You can take a look at my video. But in general, you know that Saturn can be a brilliant, when very well placed, he can be perfect in terms of reaching rank, being very like reaching rank or being very on very dignified position in the society, being very he also gives wonderful personal qualities like being exact, keeping your word, being very truthful, distinguishing good from bad, right from wrong, having moral values. This is Saturn in his very good placement astrologically. But when he's placed not very well, difficult, challenging placement, then he causes depression, melancholy, anxieties, worries. So without any doubt, the main cause of melancholy, I really do not like the modern word depression. This is how we label conditions and make them cause us more trouble than they actually should. So let's call this condition melancholy. I insist on that, but I will be explaining you the how this works so that you understand how to help yourself. And I will look at amazing ancient author, one of my favorites. This is Marsilio Ficino, somewhere early 15th century. He wrote amazing work called the 3 Books of Life, 3 books with a great part on medical astrology. Just brilliant author, my favorite. And he also actually his word matters because he's the one who translated the hermetic what was the name, excuse me, Corpus Hermeticum. How could I forget? In 1463, he received the task from the Medicis, you know, in Italy, to translate. I think there was a Macedonian, actually, Bulgarian monk who brought to the Medicis the Corpus Hermeticum in ancient Greek, and the Medicis gave the task to Marsilio Ficino to translate Corpus Hermeticum. This was such amazing event for the world, not only for astrology. It is like there must have been astrological reason, something on the sky to give us the opportunity to have the translation of this manuscript, Corpus Hermeticum. However, this is just to tell you that the name of Marsilio Ficino is very, well, precious. Now, in these books, his 3 books of life, he also describes his own melancholy, and he explains that he's melancholic, heavily melancholic, because of the powerful affliction of Saturn. I've seen his horoscope. He has Saturn Mars conjunction on the ascendant in Aquarius, and also, well, this is already enough, you know, Saturn Mars conjunction on the ascendant, which is already very, very heavy, can easily cause anxiety, worries. He explains that due to the heavy influence of Saturn, his body produces excessive amounts of black bile, because, you know, this was the way the ancients would look at, this is the way I look at medical astrology, and it gives brilliant results when you describe somebody's condition in order to be able to help him or her. So to me, this still remains the very good way of describing people's conditions. So this is what he also explains, that he actually, due to the heavy influence of Saturn, his body produces excessive amounts of black bile. Well, what could be the aspects of Saturn which could create melancholy? Certainly, this would depend on this would be very personal, would be very unique to every horoscope of a person. But I can already tell you, let's say that you're born at night, and Saturn is diurnal planet. He feels a little bit less comfortable, certainly in nocturnal horoscopes, and he's not that helpful. This is certainly not enough cause to create melancholy. But imagine being night horoscope and moon applies to Saturn by square or even by trine, can also create worries. Imagine also affliction of Saturn to the sun. Imagine also Saturn on midheaven fallen in a night horoscope, because when Saturn or any planet is in an angular position in the horoscope, this certainly would have impact on the whole horoscope. Imagine also daily horoscope, but fallen Saturn in Aries, let's say on the ascendant or on the descendant. This already can cause disharmony, and there will be many, or invisible Saturn, which is full of surprises. Invisible would mean that he would be too close to the sun and wouldn't be visible on the sky. In the horoscope, such Saturn causing affliction can also be very tricky. So also imagine Saturn in the 12th house, let's say in Cancer, again, a fallen position of Saturn, and making a pliant trine to the moon or to the sun. Doesn't matter that it's a trine. Any heavy, well, not always heavy, but let's say any aspect of Saturn to luminary can be reason, or Saturn in the 8th house, again, aspect in the moon, aspect in the sun. This can be easily cause of melancholy, worries, anxieties. Solely luminary in the 8th house receiving any aspect from Saturn can be a reason for fears, melancholy, and yes, depression. What is the remedy? The remedy, there are a couple of remedies. One of them, it may sound simple, but actually maybe it is you knowing the reason behind your melancholy, because then you already, from the moment that you know, only by having the right intention to help yourself, you're already dealing with part of the problem, of the challenge. When you know your horoscope, when you understand the placements, you already know a lot. Saturn rules the black bile, or bile, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but excessive production of this. Now, what is the remedy? I can tell you that Marsilio Ficino, during his whole life, was searching for remedies. against melancholy. The Saturn in melancholy, he knew the reason is Saturn in his own horoscope. So to continue about, yes, like I told you, Ficino spent almost all his life searching for remedies against melancholy. And he explained also that his stomach was affected because of the aspect of Saturn, which is actually very logical when I looked at his horoscope. But the interesting thing is that I will quote something beautiful, which he says. He said the following in the 3 books of life: Hermes Trismegistus, Pythagoras, and Plato tell us to calm and cheer the dissonance of the sorrowful mind with the constant and harmonious lyre and song. I, too, if I may compare the lowliest person with the greatest, frequently prove in myself how much the sweetness of the lyre and song avail against the bitterness of black bile. Ficino's words. So it requires, first of all, knowledge, knowing. Secondly, not only that, it is willpower to do something to help yourself. And this is certainly, I don't say lyre, but art, music, doing. Why? Because you see the Saturnine aspects. If you only imagine, and now again turn to his horoscope, he had in Aquarius, he had Mars and Saturn on the ascendant, and in opposition, he had Jupiter. And this was his hope. He said he wished to have Jupiter in Cancer, but actually, Jupiter played a great role by being in Leo. By opposition, he helped a lot exactly for him to be able to find these ways of helping himself, because Jupiter is abundance, joy, great planet. He also describes, and this is a third remedy that I found with my experience when I was looking at so many horoscopes, and also in his book, he explains that Saturn actually being the 7th planet is really our highest spiritual connection, because above Saturn you have only the fixed stars, and then you have God, the creator. Meaning, actually, yes, you may have the melancholic influences of Saturn, but you also have the highest spiritual connection, which is already your remedy. Spiritual practices, knowing that you have these abilities due to your aspect of Saturn, and searching for spiritual remedies. Saturn also, according to Ficino, he explains about his horoscope, but of course is that Saturn gives the greatest knowledge. So he says people who are very intellectual, very wise and knowledgeable suffer from melancholy because of their lifestyle, because of their abundance of knowledge. But there is also the remedy, spiritual, activities, because once again, Saturn is the 7th planet, and the only boundary, the borderline between the fixed stars, and then you have God, the creator. So this is already connection. Another thing he explains, because he mentioned, and this certainly I've seen horoscopes, Saturn caused him digestive problems, and he has because he was astrologer, musician, talented magician. Some of his remedies certainly are magical, but he gives beautiful dietary regimes which involve live vegetables and fruits, and exclusion of dead food. Because, and I will give you here certainly the explanation behind this remedy. Saturn is, Saturn esoterically is also the black sun, and the opposition, what actually, because you look also at Aquarius, what is the opposition of Aquarius? This is Leo, this is the sun. So against melancholy, only the sun and the life food intake. The food ruled by the sun can already be a remedy for you. Let's say you have transit of Saturn, which is on your ascendant and is quite heavy, quite challenging, gives you feeling of melancholy, feeling loss of hope, lack of hope. Your remedy could be in the morning. Every day, doesn't matter which day, you wake up early in the morning, you look at the sun, and you take orange juice. Why? Because the orange resembles the sun. The oranges are ruled by the sun. This is one example out of so many. These are just remedies that I'm giving you. Some of them come through the great Ficino, others through other ancient teachers like the Bulgarian master being Suduno, and so many ancient cultures are teaching us to welcome the sun and turn to the sun. Say whatever prayer your culture teaches you, your intuition teaches you. And also another one, of course, would be to connect with Saturn on Saturdays. Let's say you have fallen Saturn, you're born at night, you truly experience heavy challenges of this Saturn, which can also be noticed in the horoscope through difficulties with the father figure and many things. And then you can certainly address Saturn on Saturdays. You welcome the sun, and then all day you have in your mind the intention that you are helping your communication with Saturn so that he is easier in your horoscope. So with knowledge, like I told you, the first thing, maybe even the most important step, is that you certainly understand your horoscope, understand the problem, understand with which planets to work. Because could be that, let's say, you have difficult Saturn, but then Jupiter makes aspect, and then you can increase the power of Jupiter either through working with Jupiter or maybe astrological talisman of Jupiter, and then this will help, this will minimize the influences of Saturn. So this is another remedy, but the first step is the knowledge, understanding, knowing your horoscope, researching all aspects, phases of the planets, and then knowing that what is behind the challenging melancholy or anxieties that you go through. You work on that first by your intention, secondly connecting with the planet, which most probably will be Saturn in your horoscope, and there will be several remedies which I just listed. So this is partially maybe answering the question of many people who now, especially, not only now, from end of January of 2020, approached me with main challenge, which is melancholy or depression. And I'm telling you already, this is the heavy, not heavy, but the yes, the heavy presence of Saturn in Capricorn, who, being in his temple, being in his kingdom, is giving the most of his influences. For some of us, good; for others of us, not, more challenging. And there are remedies which come always through knowledge. So hopefully this was helpful. Well, see you very soon. All the best.